Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. I hope you all had a very good holiday with your families. We had some great family time here on the homestead, had some friends over, lit off some fireworks, and just had a nice relaxing day. But today we have work to do, even though it's hot and humid and sticky and we would much rather just be inside in the air conditioning. We have work to do outside. Today we are harvesting the onions that we planted early this spring.
We have them planted in a raised bed behind us, and we'll be, completely honest that the weeds have completely taken over this raised bed garden. We just haven't been able to keep up with the weeds, and honestly, our attention has been in so many other places other than this onion garden that they've really kind of taken hold. But the onions are doing fantastic underneath there. We're gonna pull them out today and let them cure outside on a board in one of our barns. And once they're dried out a little bit, then we will start chopping them up, dicing them, and freezing them. Our weather here in southern Missouri doesn't do well for keeping onions long term. It's warm, it's humid, so it works best for us just to dice them and freeze them, and we'll work on that on another day.
Yeah, we've tried in the past to, let them cure really well and then bundle them together, and that didn't work. They all just ended up rotting. We've tried, packing them in sawdust or something like that, and that didn't really work either. So we've just learned through trial and error that the best is to freeze them. That way we're guaranteed to have them all year long, because it's really, it makes you feel bad when you've gone to all the work to grow something and then you go out one day and they're just all rotten. So this is the way we make sure we have them, and we have them all year until we can plant more.
Last year we planted half of this raised bed garden with onions, and it just wasn't enough for us to get us through the year. So this year we decided to plant the entire garden just with onions, and maybe this year it will keep us through the entire year. So we're hopeful. That's what we're here for, and that's what we're hoping to do as we learn more and more every year.
Yeah, and then we also have a partial row in our garden itself that we've planted this year. We were picking those early on as just like green onions, but now they've grown up as well, and so they're ready to harvest as well today. So we're gonna get busy because it's hot and we want to find a nice shady place to sit when we're done. So we're gonna get busy picking all these onions. We'll show you guys what we get. So you can see that they've turned out to be some pretty nice onions. We're happy with the size of them, and for having some weed pressure in there, they're not going to get quite as big, but I'm real happy with the way this looks.
Stacking them up this way or turn on the other?
Well, the cart's full, so we're going to take these over to the barn and lay them out to start drying, but there's still 1.5 rows in the garden to pick. So we're going to need to put these away and then come back and get the rest.
So we've decided to create a temporary table here that will lay these onions out in a single layer to start drying. It's important for them to have good airflow, to be out of the rain and those kinds of things so that they can start drying up a little bit. As soon as we have time though, we're going to start cutting these up.
So basically what we're doing is I'm taking the onions off the cart, I'm cutting the stems, I'm leaving about 8 or so inches or more on each one, and then Sarah's taking them and arranging them on the table. You could let them dry with all of the stems still on, but we want to fit as many as we can on the table, so by cutting the stems off, we'll be able to fit a lot more on.
Well, our first round of onions is on the table. We only have a little bit of space left, so we may end up needing to be creative to find other surfaces to lay the rest of them out. But there is a storm that looks like it's trying to blow in, so we need to hurry up and continue to harvest, and maybe we can get them all done before the rain starts.
All right, another nice half a cart full. Let's take them back to the barn, get them done. This rain's coming. Well, we just got done picking and it started raining. So luckily we got them all out of the garden before that. We didn't get the ones out of the big garden yet, but we did get all of them out of the raised bed. Well, I think this is a great beginning to our harvest of onions. Like I said, we still have about a 25-foot row in the garden itself that needs to be picked, but this is a great start. I'm really happy with the way these onions grew this year. You know, it's really tempting when we harvest things like this, when we see a big bunch of them, to take some of them along to the farmer's market, but we're not going to do that.
The main focus for Kevin and I on our homestead is to grow and raise food for our family first. If we have a huge abundance of something or an overabundance of one thing or another, that's when we'll take it to the farmer's market to sell.
When we first started doing the farmer's market, Sarah and I decided early on that we would not tap into the food that we were growing for ourselves to sell. It just doesn't make financial sense to do that. For the little bit that we can get taking things to the market, if then we run out and have to go to the store to buy those things later on in the year, it just doesn't make sense. So we're better off to keep everything that we need and only take the things that we are certain are above and beyond what our family can use.
Now in the spring, however, the farmer's market is a great opportunity for us to sell plant starts. And we really do plant those seeds and plan ahead to sell at the farmer's market. So we do intentionally plant a lot more of those types of things to generate an income for our homestead. But then after we plant and as things start coming in, you know, those things are reserved for our family.
Right. We consider our greenhouse and the plants that we start out there, that's part of our business model here on the homestead. That's an intentional way that we make money by selling plant starts. We do not consider ourselves market gardeners.
Right.
We don't purposely plant things in the garden just to sell.
This year we planted one extra row of tomatoes in our big summer garden. We planted a lot of experimental tomatoes for us to try, and our intention has been and still is that if they do well and there are extra, that we'll sell those at the farmer's market. And we almost kind of set that aside to say, okay, if we're going to sell tomatoes, it's going to be these.
Right, so that way we don't have to tap into the ones that we're growing for our family.
Right, but a couple videos ago, we expressed to you some concerns that we have about our current tomatoes and our tomato plants. We're just getting hit from all sides with bugs and disease and that kind of thing. It is possible that third row of tomatoes, that we'll need to rely on those tomatoes to produce enough for our family for a year.
Right.
So even though we set out to, hey, we can set these aside to sell at the farmer's market, we may not be able to do that because it's so important for us to have those for our family. On the other hand, I still have a lot of bell peppers in the freezer from last year. We planted a lot of bell peppers. So that might be a situation this year that if we have extra of those, we take those to the farmer's market.
Right. It's not that we don't need to produce an income here on the homestead. We do, and that's part of the reason we go to the farmer's market. But it's always been our logic amongst ourselves that it makes no sense to take an onion to the farmer's market and sell it for 25 cents and then take that 25 cents and go to Walmart and buy an onion with it. That doesn't make any sense at all. After you go to all the work to produce your own food and you know how it's grown, you know the quality of the food, it makes no sense to sell that food and go buy food of lesser quality.
So with that being said, there are times when we don't really have anything or very much at all to sell at the farmer's market. At that point, we have a decision to make. Do we go and set up at the farmer's market and you know, sit there and visit and stuff for 5 or more hours to, you know, make $10 or $12, or do we stay home and get a bunch of work done on the homestead? And while we absolutely enjoy the farmer's market community in Ava, and we love to talk with everybody, we love to meet you all, there are some times when it just doesn't make sense for us to set up. And so during this time of the season, it's not every single Saturday that we're at the farmer's market.
Right. And especially right now at this time where we're in between where our plant starts are all done. Now in the spring, we'll never miss a week at the farmer's market.
Unless there's an emergency, like our daughter gets in a car accident.
Right, then we will. But when our plant starts are going strong, we're there every single week. But this is an odd time in the summer right now where the spring stuff is done, the plant starts are done, but really there's not many things coming ready to harvest yet in the garden. Those are the weeks where we may not go every single week.
Right. So we get lots of questions from you all about why we don't sell more of what we produce on the homestead at the farmer's market, and I hope that clears up some of your questions, and I hope that makes sense. So you guys, this is where we're going to end our video for the day. We've got our onions harvested, they're out here drying, and it is almost time for dinner. It is very fortunate that we've got girls that are able to cook, and they're good cooks, and they're taking care of dinner for us tonight. That's a very big blessing.
Yeah, they're actually inside making biscuits and gravy, which is one of our favorites. So we're hungry from being outside working, and we're gonna head inside. You guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it on all of your social media. Don't forget to tell your friends and family about our channel. We sure do appreciate all of you. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.